the organizers for this wonderful initiative and project that we are looking at. And today we feel very honored because we have an international guest and an international guest speaker who was ex-Mauritius, but who's now based in Canada, North America. So, dear friends, the Back to the Vedas series is something that we have gelled through our Ved Niketan, and it is something that we are looking at going back to our basics in terms of Hinduism, understanding the different tenets of our dharma and our principles, but at the same time, uh, approaching it in a very practical manner. Dear friends, one or two of the ground rules before we continue. Let us just mute our devices. You can also mute your videos, but if you can't, that's fine. Acharya ji, you can, yeah, we can, as long as we can see you. But please try and, unless I will have to just mute you because it's becoming a disturbance. Shame. Okay. Unmute now. I muted myself. I'm going to ask our administrator, Karuna, if you can do.
Everyone's so serious. Yeah, and everyone's like looking at you like so seriously. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so a few ground rules. We are going to open up for discussion and for questions. So that will be after Acharya ji gives us his input in terms of the topic for today. Then we will then open it up for people to ask a few questions, and I'm sure he'll be able to give us um, his answers and appropriate answers. So before we start, I would like to ask Pandita Reshma Rambaros, who's with us, to lead us in the opening prayer. Pandit Reshma Rambaros, can you unmute and lead us in prayer, please?
तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Thank you, Pandit Reshma Ramboros. Dear friends, I would like to officially, on behalf of the President of Arya Samaj South Africa, Pandit Arti Benji, who is with us this afternoon, who is the President, Pandit Arti, and also the officials and members of the Arya Samaj South Africa for being with us this evening. Dear friends, we also take this opportunity to extend a very warm welcome to Acharya ji, all the way from Canada. I did mention that he was from Mauritius, but He's now based in Canada. So, dear friends, a little bit about the thinking behind Back to the Vedas. As I said, that the Vedniketan, which is an education wing of the Arya Samaj South Africa, has put out many publications, and one of them is the Ved Jyoti. We have put out many tracts over a period of time, and historically, our Vedniketan programs, our books, our courses have been very successful. Um, a lot of students and members of our community have written physically, face to face, attended schools, attended classes, and have participated in our wonderful programs that were created by the Vedniketa. And as you know, we all went through the COVID 19 pandemic, and things had to change and we had to adapt in terms of how do we approach our studies, how do we approach disseminating our information to our communities, and also how do we approach the practice and performance of our satsangs. And as you know, we also have the School of Vedic Studies, which is also a wing of the Prohit Mandal that is responsible for training of our priests. And also on a weekly basis over the last 2.5 years, whilst the pandemic was on, we did not shy away, and we have we have conducted our weekly satsang, which has been zoomed throughout the world. We've had participants, and our satsangs are quite successful. We have at times over 100 and sometimes between 60 and 70 people that are with us on a Sunday from 9 to 10. So these initiatives have come out of Arya Samaj South Africa. And side by side with that, we have relaunched the Ved Jyoti, the publication that is going out, and it has been successful, and it has been accepted successfully for the articles and the content of the Ved Jyoti. And we thank all the members of the Vedniketan, Usha Devi Prasad, who is chairing it, and the other role players that have been responsible in promoting our dharmic principle. So, dear friends, that just in a nutshell is giving you a brief about what we do and what Arya Samaj South Africa has been doing since lockdown, and also prior to that in terms of the Vedniketa. So today, as I said, we are very honored to have Acharya Brahmdev Mukundlal, who's formerly from Mauritius. Presently, he's based at Arya Samaj Markham, serving the Toronto community in Canada. And he's also a member of the editorial board of Navrang Times, the newsletter of Arya Pratini Sabha America. He is an author of numerous insightful articles on Vedic philosophy, spirituality, and contemporary issues in English and French, with daily sharing of philosophical and spiritual thoughts on social media. Acharyaji is also the author of Interfaith and Intercultural Dialogue, and a book in French entitled, I'm going to give Acharyaji the honor to give us the title of the book that he has written in French, that's based on pregnancy and childbirth related to the Vedic Sanskaar. Amazing. He's used this, the Vedic Sanskars, and he's also penned it in French. So I'm sure it has taken off, and he's obviously been going around giving a lot of discourse. So he can give us a better insight in terms of the French reaction to the Vedic Sanskars. Acharyaji, we have, as I said, and I'm repeating myself, today you are actually leading our pilot program on Back to the Vedas, and we look forward to listening to you. And your topic for today is the ashrams in life as discussed in the Sanskaar Vidhi. So I now hand over to you, Acharya ji, and you can unmute, you can start your program and present to us the ashrams in life as discussed in the Sanskaar Vidhi. My namaste to you, sir.
Namaste, everybody. A warm welcome. Quite a few of you probably have met or seen in other conferences, so warm welcome to all of you. And the books which Pandit Kiranji mentioned, I was co-author for the Council of Religions because it takes the perspective from various faiths. So on the Interfaith and Intercultural Dialogue, I was the one writing from the Sanatan Dharma and the Hindu point of view, and the other one is in French. It was also led by one lady who's been writing a few books about pregnancy, childcare, etc. It's I think Enceinte Reconstruit, French name, and I was co-author also there, and I got only 2 days to do the write-up and put it there, but I think it's a brilliant piece of work in people understanding from the point of view of interfaith intercultural dialogue the international or universal concepts of Sanatan Dharma based from the Vedas, rooted from the Vedas. And then the other one, I took it directly from the Sanskaar Vidhi of Maharishi Dayananda, and I've tried to cover from Garbhadhan to Namkaran Sanskaar. Because when we are talking about pregnancy, it's a whole till the childbirth, and the first Sanskaar after the childbirth is Jat Karma, then Namkaran. I covered till there. And I have to see, because I have to see what are the copyrights which they've hold on that, but I kept my own rights reserved probably for ultimate sharing with you at some later point in time. Let's come down to the subject of today, Ashrams in life, from the Sanskaar Vidhi of Maharishi Dayananda Saraswati. Two things which go together when Maharishi Dayananda describes Sanskaar is Varna Ashram Vyavastha. Varna is about division of labor. If I take, I can borrow the word from modern economics of today. So that's simply division of labor based on competencies, gun, karma, subhav. But Ashram Vyavastha, the concept of the 4 stages of life, Brahmacharya, Grihast, Vanprasth, and Sannyas. It's not a, as we say, a Chinese word division, but it's more a transition. The child is born, stays with the parents up to the age of 5 or 8, then goes to Gurukul to acquire knowledge, but acquire knowledge as well as acquire the proper way of righteous behavior on the path of Dharma. And to take the words of Maharishi Dayananda Saraswati, Uttam Guno ke Prachar, Shresht Padarthon ke, no, it says, Sushiksha, Shiksha, Satyadi Gun Grahan. So along with the acquisition of knowledge, also is the other fundamental character building, which unfortunately modern education doesn't look at that perspective. It's more reading, writing, and arithmetic, the 3 R, but I would add the 4th R from character. So character building, the essential, and Maharishi Dayananda talks about Brahmacharya Ashram as the foundations for life. And Grihast Ashram, Maharishi Dayananda uses the word Uttam Guno ke Prachar, Shreshtha Padarthon ki Unnati se Santanon ki Utpati va Sikshit Karne ke liye. So the Grihast Ashram is another stage of life where after acquisition of knowledge and character, good character, and then the knowledge to also to live life, a proper decent life, Then we move into Grihast, though it's not compulsory. Many people in the olden times, even now in India, prefer to stay as brahmacharis. But then it says the next step of life is the married life or the life of a householder. Still there are core issues to be continued in life. Uttam Guno, the good character, the good way of righteous living. Then second is purpose of marriage is to beget children. So what we need to also do when we beget children, we are planning to get children, is to try to make children be better than us, not only intellectually in terms of learning, but in terms of character, in terms of, as Maharishi Anand himself puts it, 10 steps ahead of us in terms of material and spiritual acquisition. Then the next step is Vanprast. Vanprast, Maharishi Anand describes Brahma Vidya Sakshat sadhana karne ke liye ekant mein Parmeshwar ka sevan karna. That is the life which to modern contemporary time would be retirement. Shifting the householder's responsibilities now to the son who's married, and probably we are now grandfathers. At that point in time, we hand over the household responsibility, and then we take more and more time to fine-tune our learning and go more and more into spiritual depth. Preparing, of course, on the path of yoga to go up to dhyan and samadhi, where we go for God realization, Ishwar Sakshatkar. And this is more fine-tuned in sannyas. So Vanprast is the preparation or reaffirmation of our spiritual connections, the connection with Ishwara, and we move into sannyas after we've attained the point of Tivra Vairagya, which Maharishi Anand himself describes. That is unshakable faith in renunciation and detachment from worldly matters. But it says, Parmeshwar Arthat, Moksh Sukh ki prapti और सत्योपदेश से संसार के उपकार के अर्थ किया जाता है. That is sannyas. That is, we've gone on the path of Ishwar Sakshatkar, God realization, mukti, moksha, but also we have a duty to spread the knowledge and take others, show others the path of that. And the Ashram Vyavastha itself, it leads to the other goals of life. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. The four Purusharth, as we know. Dharma, righteous living, and that is, the foundations are the Brahmacharya Ashram. Artha and Kam is for more Grihast Ashram, the householder's life. And then moving gradually to the path of Vanprast and Sannyas to be able to go to that ultimate step of Moksha Mukti. Brahmacharya, as I said, the Brahmacharya Ashram, it's affirming our roots into Dharma, laying the foundations for the other ashram, because once we've laid the solid foundations, we'll also be at the same time when we're moving ahead in life, the foundations will keep us rooted in Dharma. And the induction from Brahmacharya Ashram is mainly through the Vedaram Sanskaar. Upnayan first, Yajyopavet, then Vedaram Sanskaar, where we say twice born Dvija. And the concept of twice born is by the Acharya getting the child inducted into the studies. First, the first 3 days is about analysis and some fasting just to cleanse the physical framework of the child and then starting on the education point. It's called the second birth because that is the birth on the path of education, spirituality in life. Then if we look at the Yajurveda, is the concept of free rin, Pitririn, Rishirin, and Devrin. Rishirin is about patan, learning and making others come to the path of learning. Pitririn is more to be addressed when we leave the life of a householder. And Devrin is, if we take it like this, on the path of from Sakam Karma to Nishkam Karma, serve through Vanprasth and Sannyas. Then it's also a reminder for us, purity of mind, body and spirit. Be careful on manasa, vacha, karmana, on our thoughts and our words and our actions, on gun, karma, subhav, which is very important. Character, actions and nature. And the Vedaram Sanskaar, the key to it, induction, is by way of the Gayatri Mantra, which we also know as the Guru Mantra or Savitri Mantra. And it's that Sanskaar when the father is handing over the child to the Acharya, be it a girl child or a boy child, to the Acharya or Acharya, the father makes a call to the child. It says, Brahmacharya Ashram Apushnana Karma Kuru Divama Swapsa Acharya Dhino Vedam Adhisha, etc., etc. It's again a set of values, but the father is handing over to the child. Like always be respectful to the Acharya. Always be dutiful. Don't sleep during the day. Follow the guidance of the Acharya, follow the teachings, because these will lead you to the path of physical, spiritual growth. And the first 3 days of induction, the child is more on water and I think milk, and less on food to the extent that the child can bear, because then we look into also the mental, physical and moral purification of the child. Then when the Vedaram Sanskaar comes to the second part of it, the Acharya takes over and gives another set of values. From where it starts, Satyam Vada Dharamam Chara. Be truthful and be always on the path of Dharma. And the beauty of it, we see free samhidhas again given in that. The free samhidhas telling the child, like the wood, we can't see the fire, we can't see the fuel, but when it comes in contact with Agni, fire, it becomes fire-like. So you're coming into contact with this knowledge. Be studious in life and then shine bright with that knowledge in day-to-day life. It's not getting the knowledge to be bookish knowledge. And in the mantras, there are several rituals. One is Mukha Sparsh, where the last 3 mantras is Medham me Deva Savita Adadatu, Medha me Devi Saraswati Adadatu, Medha me Ashwina Deva Vadattam Pushka Sarasrajo. The first one is prayer for the enlightened mind. Second, Divya Guno Vale. So become also of good character. And the last one, become someone multi-skilled and who can also multitask. Bahu Vidh Sukshma Vidya Buddhi. Say Alankrit. I'm just taking a few of the words from Maharshi Dayananda Saraswati Sanskaar Vidhi, and he's also described the ashram in the Rig Vedadi Bhashya Bhumika. So I've sourced the reference from both of them. So it's telling about the development during the Brahmacharya Ashram is at the end of it, we become skilled in various types of knowledge. And the various types of knowledge are described clearly. It says, Prana Vidya, Loka Vidya, and Prajapati Parameshwar. If I just try to make a simple analogy, it would be life sciences, Pran Vidya. Lok Vidya is about physical sciences, and Prajapati Parameshwar is more spiritual sciences. Look at the holistic approach, the beauty of it. Then the Brahmacharya Ashram, when the person is now moving ahead in life, going to Grihastha Ashram, there is the Samavartan Sanskaar, which is equal to the commencement ceremony or the graduation ceremony in modern days. And again, the Acharya repeats the same message to the child, which starts from Satyam Vada Satyam Vada Dharamam Chara, and goes on like this. It's from Taittiriya Upanishad, and which also talks about the concept of when you grow, you should give back to society in terms of Riyadeyam, Bhiyadeyam, Shriyadeyam, Sanvedadeyam, etc., etc. It's all a prescribed list. And it also says, don't forget about Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya mapramadittavyam. Don't do pramad. Always be studious in life. The learning curve doesn't end. And from there, the root is there. When we move on ahead in life, keys to be retained. Swadhyaya, continuous study of the scriptures. Atma direction, introspection. Upasana, dhyan, by the way of Sandhyopasana Vidhi. Then the Panchmahayats Vidhi. Deviyats, Pitriyats, Atithiyats, and Balivaishwa Deviyats. Caring for the elderly who've graced us by giving birth to us, sharing knowledge to us, and also Balivaishwa Deviyats caring for other forms of life. So these are the prescribed things in Grihastha Ashram. Apart from earning life, when we beget children, remember the cycle starts again in Sanskaar Vidhi. Before planning to have a child, let's undergo the guidance of Garbhadhan Sanskaar. Punsavan Sanskaar, Simantunayan Sanskaar, if you want to build a next generation who would be probably 10 steps ahead or 10 times better than us. That's a whole cycle. And the beauty of it is also when Maharshi Dhanana has written the Viva Sanskaar, just immediately after that is put one chapter, Grihastha Ashram Prakaranam, defining the code of conduct for peace, harmony, and progress within the family. As we say, Sukha, Shanti, Samriddhi, and emphasizing on the concept of mutual respect. Because Grihastha Ashram is a point where we are socially active to increase our wealth, to increase the wealth in society as a bread earner, to earn a living, to make a sustainable, decent living for the family. And also the Grihastha Ashram sustains the Brahmacharya Ashram and the Sannyas Ashram, who live mostly on Bhiksha. So the Brahmacharis, they don't work, they depend on the parents now in the world of today. And post-retirement, okay, we have our own retirement funds, but there comes a point in life and where, especially when we become socially active, then we depend also on the householders because they are taking more and more responsibilities. So Viva Sanskaar is very important. When we perform Viva Sanskaar, or we are in the householder's life, let's revisit the Viva Sanskaar from the Sanskaar Vidhi. So many things we'll learn new. And from that, we'll probably re-gear our life for more peace, happiness, and prosperity. And if we go now to the next one, the Vanprastha, this is also one fundamental, equivalent to the retirement stage. But then there it's also the retirement from the householder's responsibility, leaving more and more responsibility to the children and phasing out from that life, going more in depth of spiritual knowledge, affirming our roots into spirituality, into the Sanatana Dharma. Eventually, when we reach that point of Tivra Vairagya, this unshakable faith and belief, we are now ready to move on the next step, sannyas. Vanprastha is a period for Atma Chintan. Atma Chintan and affirming our roots in Brahma Vidyan, Brahma Dhyan, about spiritual knowledge, about the precepts of Sanatana Dharma. On the path, again, Brahmachari, we were more for acquisition of knowledge to be on the path of Dharma. Vivah Sanskaar, Grihastha Ashram was more for arth and kam, earning and living life. And then we move now to the path of moksha. The next step is Vanprastha, and the ultimate step is sannyas, the period of renunciation. And it's not blind renunciation, it's renunciation with full knowledge, so that once we're on that path, we never go back to where we were. That's why it says Tivra Vairagya. And moving into sannyas can be from any phase of life. It can be from a brahmachari to sannyas directly, it may be from grihas to sannyas, or it may be vanprastha to sannyas, that is completing the whole cycle. The preconditions, Tivra Vivek Vairagya, with due proper knowledge and with the sense of detachment. That is the path to move to moksha, mukti, on the path of yoga, because we've lived on the path of yoga, yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, and this is the path where now we reinforces our dhyan to go into samadhi, Ishwar Sakshatkar. But then the sannyasi has a duty to lead others to mukti. In terms of what Maharishi Dayanand describes, Manav Matra ki seva, and as a sannyasi we become Vishwa Nagrik, global citizen, and in this world we'll be seeing Brahma, Ishwara, God everywhere. And this is the concept of, we see Ishwar Pranidhan. At the end of this, when we've moved into sannyas and we've gone into Ishwar Sakshatkar, God realization, we fulfilled what we pray daily in Sandhya. He Ishwar Dayanidhe, Dharmarth Kama Mokshanam, Sadhya Siddhir Bhavena. So Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And we'll realize Om Shanti, 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 Trivid Dukhon से हम अत्यंत पुरुषार्थ करके हम त्रिविध दुखों से अत्यंत निवृत्ति पाएंगे. So by putting up all our physical and mental efforts throughout our life, we reach that point where we know we won't be getting into the cycle of birth and death again. The next is mukti, moksha. So the Ashram Vyavastha leads us to that path. The path of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And living a life not as a pauper, with a decent living, but with full knowledge and full awareness. And there will be off the track of Adidevik, Adibhautik, and Adhyatmik Dukkha, which is again in line with Sankhya Darshan and the ultimate purpose of the spiritual knowledge in the Yoga Darshan, to realize God and to move into Mukti. all these Shastras, Maharishi Dayananda has just given us a condensed way of interpreting it. Satyat Prakash, Sanskaar Vidhi, Rigvedadi Harshya Bhumika. A very essential book also to look at is Vyavahar Bhan, to understand the concepts of righteous living, because that righteous living dharma remains the key for us to live life as a true human being, Manurbhava Daivyam Janam. Not be human only by form, but human in whatever we do in life. Well, I just hope I've been able to brief you a bit, to give you a brief insight. I know I've probably run 5 minutes over my time, but then I leave the floor open to you. If you have any questions, just please follow certain guidelines one by one. Don't talk at the same time. And when you've finished your question, you please mute yourself.
Firstly, I would like to just take this opportunity in extending our gratitude to you, Acharya-ji, for a wonderful presentation and the paper that you've presented. Also, it's so balanced. You covered the ashrama system. You've interrelated the sanskars with the ashrama system, but also at the same time, you brought in the four purusharthas, which is so important in terms of our daily activities. Thank you for meshing and bringing all of that together and putting it so clearly across for us to understand and also for us to relate to. And as you've indicated, we will now allow for a few questions to be tabled. It would also be better if people could quickly type out through the chat. There's a chat section. If you have
There's
a
already
question,
one
you
there.
could quickly, yes, and then and then Acharya-ji could actually link onto that, and then he could give us an answer. Let's look at the first question that we have.
It says from Lux Maharaj, why is the younger generation turning away from Sanskaar, living Hinduism to convert primarily to Christianity? One word probably would answer everything, is avidya. Ignorance, false knowledge, or half knowledge. Avidya will include total ignorance, that is, they don't know the importance of sanskar. Unfortunately, by sticking only to sanskar as rituals, where the scientific outlook behind the sanskar are not given to people. So they think of it merely as a ritual, and unfortunately, they don't understand the mantras in Sanskrit that blurs their vision further. So it's either total ignorance or half knowledge. They know part of it, but they are not convinced because they don't know the other part. They think the rituals are there, they have certain importance, but why, they don't know. Then the last one is they find things which they get in language which they can understand better, more appealing. Definitely, that is human nature. You tend to group with people who will probably talk the same language, the same, will be on the same frequency. But if we start by, I would just pick up from where I said, during Vivaha Sanskar, if we are able to explain some of the essence of the vows that are being taken, and prior to Vivaha Sanskar, let's do some premarital counseling, where we are emphasizing on the importance of sanskar like Garbhadhan Sanskar, Simantanayan Sanskar, and the others. And in the same flow, we can just give an outline of the 16 Sanskar in the Sanatan Dharma, Vedic Dharma. So when people will have those basis, those groundwork knowledge, there they can build from that. But in the absence of that, they will still look at the sanskar as only rituals, and without the proper knowledge to understand the fundamentals, obviously they find the others with some explanation in English or whatever be the language of the countries where many, the Indian diaspora is leaving, so they just switch on to the other faith. I just hope that is clear. No
Yes,
other
thank you,
questions?
Acharya.
Probably you can unmute
Yes.
and ask the question.
I think you also answered it very well, especially with the focus on the Sanskaar system. But living in a Western society, you will find that education is based at a different level. It's not targeted in terms of our spiritual and cultural and our dharmic way. So it is very important that we, in our satsang groups, our organizations, disseminate this information down to our youth and the future generations. Thank you for that. We also have Usha Chirkut, who has a hand up. If you could unmute and ask your question, please.
Thank you, Bhaiji. Namaste, Acharya ji, and namaste to all. My question is, in the days gone by, the Upanayan and the Vedaramba sanskars were done for sons. Can it be done for daughters? Because the globe has changed, the world has changed. Women are taking their role in society. So we need to educate them in all facets as well.
Yeah, there's no restriction for Upnayan Sanskar and Vedaram Sanskar for girls. In fact, the Vedas, one mantra which Maharishi Dayanand has used even in Sanskar Vidhi, Rigveda, Deva, Shivamukha and Satyar Prakash, talking about Brahmacharyena Kanya Yuvanam Vindati Patim Anadvan Brahmacharyena Shrovasa Ghasam Jigishati. So Brahmacharyena Kanya Yuvanam Vindate Patim. The girl should be properly educated before marriage. Then Anadvan Brahmacharyena Shoghasam Jigishati. The emphasis is again on by Maharishi Dayanand Saraswati. कन्या ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रम से पूर्ण विद्या पर चुके तब अपनी युवावस्था में पूर्ण जवान पुरुष को अपना पति करें. So the girl should go through the complete cycle of Brahmacharya Ashram, acquiring proper knowledge so that she would be able to affirm herself in the life duties and responsibilities of Grihastha Ashram, especially the burden, the first educator in the life of every human being being the mother.
Absolutely.
Matriman, Pitrivan, Acharyavan, Purusho, Veda. Matri Devo Bhava, Pitri Devo Bhava, Acharya, or Atithi Devo Bhava. So when Matri is first, then Arthapati, by logical inference, there's no restriction to girls for Upnayan and Vedaram Sanskar. And I think you've done a beautiful job by inducting ladies as priests within the Arya Sabha, Arya Samaj movement in South Africa. Mauritius also has done a good job on that. But I think Pandit Nardev and the others did a bright job there. And which you are continuing in a brilliant way.
Thank you very much. Dhanyavad.
Thank you. Benji, Usha Chirkut, you are happy with the response from Acharya ji, I hope?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the explanation has been good. Because mother is the first teacher and she brings into the world future generations. The leaders of the world come first through the mother's hands. So I'm very happy with the explanation that girls need full education to be properly educated before they get married and take the role of becoming mothers. Thank you very much.
So I'll just go through the chat.
Thank you.
So the one is saying many Hindus are confused as to when exactly one must follow the Vanprastha Ashram, as it seems Grihastha Ashram is too long in the lifetime of an individual. Shouldn't Hindu society encourage and support Vanprastha Ashram, especially in times of challenges? Yeah, One, by taking the concept of Vanaprastha Ashram now in contemporary world, take it to be post-retirement from active working life. And if we take it from that, what happens is that we'll also diffuse one problem, the problem of generation gap, because we've started handing over the responsibilities to the new generation. So generation gap also is more or less muted or mitigated. Then there should be also one phase where people can probably, we don't have the Vanaprastha Ashram, we don't have the infrastructure, the resources to put a Vanaprastha Ashram, but we can still use our Arya Samaj Mandir for spiritual learning, because when Maharishi Dayanand prescribes Vanaprastha Ashram in the Sanskaar Vidhi, and when you go into the depth of Rigvedadi Bhashya, Bhumika, etc., it says Vanaprasthi should go like going into another Gurukul, because they are going to reaffirm themselves on the path of spiritual knowledge. So when you go for that, then I think we can make good use of our existing infrastructure of the Arya Samaj by getting the retired persons within that and running courses for them for their spiritual upliftment. Then it says again, it is understood that most difficult stage of life is the grihast. How can young couples become more knowledgeable about the challenges that will be faced in this stage of life? Based on the precepts of the sanskaras, and if we look at the values that are being taught to at the very induction in Vedaram Sanskaar and Samavartan Sanskaar, if that is retold to the youth before they go into married life, that will give them a compass to avoid the deviations or the temptations that come in married life and thereon. Very important, premarital counseling, but also need to create a forum for post-marital counseling, because when problems crop up, they should know that they have a helpline which exists to give them guidance, or at least listen to them. The next one is about Rigved Mantra education of females. I think that we've already looked into. Great, we have people from the Netherlands also. Ashlata Chotai, Frank and Sunil Avantika. That's great. So I'll leave it to Pandit Kiranji to do the moderation, continue with the moderation.
Bhaji, Acharya ji, we have a hand up from Prabodh Vedalankar.
Yes.
I'm sure he's indicated that he wants to say something. Prabodh
Yes.
ji?
Acharya ji, namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for your wonderful lecture. And as Kiranji said, that you covered a broad spectrum of areas in a very brief period of time. Would you agree that in the 4 ashramas, perhaps the Grihastha ashram, उसका ज़्यादा महत्व भूमिका होती है, क्योंकि जो गृहस्थी है वो दोनों ब्रह्मचर्य और वानप्रस्थी का पालन करते हैं, देखभाल करता है. धन्यवाद.
Yeah, that's right. Perfect. And that's why after Brahmacharya Ashram, Maharishi Dayanand has laid emphasis, because it's the foundation for life. But then when we go into the Vivaha Sanskaar, Maharishi Dayanand says it's very important phase of life, Grihast Ashram, because this is the ashram that sustains or enables the building of the next generation by getting children and nurturing these children to be good citizens. And also, let alone the Vanprasthi, but the sannyasi who doesn't work. He lives on bhiksha and he's roaming here and there, 2 days here, 2 days there. So he also depends on the Grihast Ashram. In fact, this is the foundation, because the Vanprasth wouldn't have existed without the Grihast Ashram. The Brahmacharya Ashram also wouldn't have existed without people in Grihast Ashram. And obviously, the sannyasis won't survive without grihasthis. So you're right in that, and I've just used the logic why the importance of grihast ashram as an important stage of life, an important tool in making a better society.
Dhanyavad, Bhaiji.
Thank you, Acharya-ji. Thank you, Prabodh-ji, for your input there. We have a question or it's a statement, comment by Laks Maharaj. He says the Rig Veda mantra education of females, please provide reference in the Rig Veda and English translation so that we can distribute this information widely. We need to change our patriarchal society practice.
Very good.
Thank you, Lux, for that. It's a very progressive.
About the education, I don't think I mentioned Rig Veda, I mentioned Vedas, but it's the Brahmacharya Sukt from Atharva Veda. What I can do is I can do it and then text it to either Usha-ji or Kiran-ji.
You can send it to us, Arya Samaj, South Africa.
Yeah. I'll do it and then text it to you.
Okay. Thanks, Acharya-ji. Okay, moving on, Acharya-ji, you have, we also see that you're also an advocate of interfaith dialogue, and we living in South Africa, post 94, we have been working with other faith groups and obviously building a relationship. Can you just give us a quick insight into your work and also the Arya Samaj and Vedic view on interfaith dialogue?
My paper on the interfaith dialogue is about, I think, 10 or 12 pages of A4 in that book that I contributed. The main thing about it is that so many, when we go to interfaith and intercultural dialogue meetings, there are so many, as we say, prejudice ideas on Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma. And they try to teach us, or they show to us that they are universal when the fundamentals of whatever they are trying to teach us is from the Veda. Like the concept of universal brotherhood, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Or put it there, yes. To be good human beings, Krinvanto Vishwamaryam. Like when we are talking of unity, we are talking of unity in interfaith with abstract ideas. We don't know where it will start from. But Vedas tells us, Sangachadvam Samvadadvam Samvo Mananasi Janatam. It's when the thought process goes into universal and concise directions, then only we can get unity. And unity starts with me by having unity between my Manasa Vacha Karmana, Man, Vani or Sharir se kiye hue karma, between my thoughts, my words and my physical actions. And then there are the concepts, like if we take the example of the interfaith meeting I'm having next week, is based on, the topic is war. So how is war described in the scriptures? One fundamental is ahimsa, we know is the main precept, ahimsa paramo dharma. But ahimsa is not a blind acceptance of whatever others may do to me. Because that same Sanatana Dharma, what it says from Manusmriti, Dharmo Rakshati Rakshita. I need to stand for Dharma, then only will Dharma protect me. And if we look at the two epics, historical, Ramayana and Mahabharata, they were wars for bringing back Dharma.
Yes.
So we need to show to them war is the last recourse. It's not the first. And in ours, it's not that if somebody doesn't accept the Sanatana Dharma, we go for a kill. No. There's no such concept. Somebody who wants to espouse Sanatana Dharma has to do it with his own free will, no use of force. And in those concepts, when we are talking about peace, we need to see there need to be compassion from both sides, from the aggressor and from the aggressed. And when we are talking of peace, it shouldn't be only at the surface level. It should be fundamentally from within me. And we should be able also to show other universal concepts like Shanti parties, prayers for universal peace. When we are praying, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, for the good health and welfare of all, and bring into that the principles of the Arya Samaj, sixth principle, working for the welfare of the whole world. Another fundamental, principle 9 and 10 of the Arya Samaj.
Yes.
There's no other faith group in this world which can bring such beauty of social harmony.
And that's true.
Principle 6, 9, and 10. And that's the
Thank you, Acharya.
That's the marvel of Rishi Dayanand bringing the knowledge down to us.
Yes. Thank you. As you indicated that you have a whole paper, about 9 to 10 pages on it, on interfaith. But just by touching on these few mantras and also focusing on the unity mantras, it also gives us an opportunity for us to do more and to delve deeper into it and bring it back into our lives. Thank you for that. Thank you,
And
Acharya
it gives, I'll just add one word. When we use those concepts, it gives us the upper hand in the interfaith and intercultural dialogue meetings. In fact, for the Atlanta group, I am the lead speaker now.
Okay.
I became the lead speaker after the first time I participated in that.
Wow. Your dynamism and it exudes. Here in South Africa, we are highly impressed with you, listening to you tonight in a formal webinar with you. Thank you for imparting all this wonderful knowledge to us. Acharyaji, we are about to round off. We have gone 8 minutes well beyond the hour, and your topic, Ashramas in Life, and referring to it in the Sanskaar Vidhi, has given us an insight into the 4 stages, the Brahmacharya, Grihastha, the Vanprastha, and the Sannyas. The input that we got from our participants was one of guidance and also requesting, especially with Vanprastha and senior people, to also give back to society and to help development and growth. At the same time, you also touched on sannyas, and sannyas being a renunciation, but also at the same time with full knowledge and giving back to society. Acharyaji, you also reflected on the Purusharthas and you related that also to our Grihastha ashram. And that means that we, as young people that are entering into the Grihastha ashram, need to lead a very righteous and a characterful life. And especially being in the Grihastha ashram, it's very material and it's very desirous, and it's a time of where people are working towards their goals, their artha, and their desires. So that also needs to be in check. I would just like to also mention something, and so in what you said, that premarital counseling is something that we need to look at. I would like to just state that here in South Africa, in our School of Vedic Studies, it's part of our module for our priests that are in study, the Vedic Purohit Mandal and School of Vedic Studies. It is an important module on premarital counseling. So we are equipping and we are also giving the priests an opportunity to interact with the young people that they are marrying, and also to take them through a process dealing with day-to-day issues. So we are addressing that here in South Africa. But thank you for that. And we also, as I said, we're also looking at that. The Interfaith Dialogue would be an interesting topic for us to address at some other stage, and possibly I would like to speak to our Vedniketan organizers. Maybe we could actually invite you to a platform where we could also invite other faith groups to be part of that dialogue, and it would be interesting to see how we could actually have this dialogue and work towards peace and world peace. Acharyaji, in closing, I would like to say once again on behalf of our President, Pandit Arti Shannon, and Arya Samaj officials and members, Usha Devi Prasad, who is the chairperson of the Vedniketan, which is a subcommittee of Arya Samaj, I would extend our sincere thanks to you for being here with us this evening. I would like to also say to all our participants, we started this off as an initiative, and we have now a record of at least close on to 70 people, or between 68 and 70, we could say, that came on for our first session. So we hope to build on this, and we hope to see you at our next sessions also. So in conclusion, I would like to ask Pandit Reshma Ramboros to close off in prayer, and Acharyaji, you can also close off in prayer after Pandit Reshma Ramboros, so that we can all be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you, Acharya ji.
Reshma-ji.
Om Deo Shantirantariksham Shanti Prithivi Shantir Apoh Shantir Oshadhaya Shanti Vanaspatya Shantir Vishvedeva Shantir Brahma Shanti Sarvam Shanti Shantir Eva Shanti Sama Shantiredhi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Pandit Reshma.
Thank you for having me.
Acharyaji.
Let me take 4 lines in the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, 4 lines of blessings. भगवान इस परिवार को सुख का सदा वरदान दो, ज्ञान की गंगा बहाकर शुद्ध वैदिक ज्ञान दो, निरोग होकर सब जिए शतवर्ष आयुष्मान हो, धन धान्य से पूरित सदा यश युक्त कीर्तिमान हो, पुत्र पौत्रादिक सभी बलवान हो, श्रीमान हो, विद्वान हो, मतिमान हो, धर्मात्मा धीमान हो। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Namaste everybody.
Namaste. Namaste, Acharyaji.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.